Introduction to History, the definition, issues, sources, and methodology. This module discusses the definition of history, which transcends the common definition as the study of the past. It also tackled the several issues in history that consequently open up for theoretical aspects of discipline. The distinction of primary and secondary sources are also concerned as relation to history. And lastly, this module tackles the task of the historian as the arbiter of facts and evidences in making his or her interpretation and forming historical narratives. History is derived from the Greek word historia, means knowledge and acquired through inquiry or investigation. It is a discipline that studies chronological record of events as affecting a nation or people. It is an academic discipline which uses narrative to describe, examine, question, and analyze past events and investigate their patterns of cause and effect. The modern study of history is wide-ranging and includes the study of specific regions as the study of historical investigation. It is often taught as part of the primary and secondary education and the academic study of history as a major discipline in university studies. Historiography refers to the study, analysis of history through a belief system or philosophy, considered as the writing history based on the critical examination of sources, of the selection of particular details from the authentic materials in those sources, and the synthesis of those details into a narrative that stands the test of critical examination.
In history, positivism thought that requires an empirical and observable evidence before claiming a knowledge is true. Positivist historians are expected to be objective and impartial on their historical research. And in post-colonialism is the historical period of state of affairs representing the aftermath of Western colonialism. The term can also be used to describe the concurrent project to reclaim and rethink the history of and agency of people subordinated under various forms of imperialism.
Historians are persons seeking historical evidence and facts and interpret them. So their job is to give meaning to these facts and organize them into timeline, establish causes, and write the history. So these persons are influenced by their own context, environment, ideology, education, and influence. Historians follow technique and rules in order to properly utilize sources and historical evidences in writing history. And that is what we call the historical mythology. So certain rules are applied in case of conflicting accounts in different sources. Historians also should know how to properly treat eyewitnesses' accounts and oral sources as a valid historical evidence. So historical methodology serves as the framework for the historical research. It is a coherent and logical scheme based on views, beliefs, and values that guides the choice of the historian's research made.
Annales School of History. It is a school of history born in France that challenged the canons of history. There are 4 Annales scholars: Lucien Febvre, Marc Bloch, Fernand Bradwell, and Jacques Ligoff. Annales School of History studied other subjects in a historical manner. They were concerned with social history and studied longer historical periods. They advocate that the people and classes who were not reflected in the history of the society in the grand manner be provided with space in the records of mankind. Annals thinkers married history with other disciplines, like geography. There are 2 historical sources, such as primary and secondary sources. Primary sources produced at the same time as the event, period, or subject being studied. An eyewitness account of convention delegates and their memoir are used as primary sources. Archival documents, artifacts, memorabilia, letters, census, and government records are the primary sources. Secondary sources, this is the sources that are produced by an author who used primary sources to produce the material. It is historical sources which studied a certain historical subject.
Hello, I'm Hilmer Anadilla. Our topic for today is all about internal criticism and external criticism. A process historians use to determine whether a source is authentic is by checking the validity. This has to be done to ensure the quality and reliability of the source. Any source material collected should be subjected to both external and internal criticism. The authenticity of the evidence is determined by external criticism, whereas credibility is established by internal criticism. Let's discuss each so that you'll have a better understanding of the difference between the two, how they are connected, and why they are both important. External criticism is concerned with establishing the authenticity or genuineness of the data. This is when historians check the validity of a source to verify whether or not it's authentic. Here, we have to question whether or not we can trust the data and use it as a reference point. External criticism involves establishing whether our document can be traced back to the originator, and then establishing whether it is consistent with known facts, and studying the form of the document. In the process of external criticism, we usually look at inquiries regarding authorship, originality, and accuracy of copy. And if errors are found, this process helps assess the nature of the errors. That is, if they are scribal errors or other kinds of errors after the source has been subjected to external criticism. Internal criticism follows. Here we look at the reliability of an authenticated source. Internal criticism checks the credibility of the document to see whether the documents given in it are believable or not. This is done because any writers will not have adequate knowledge of the given situation. The process of subjecting a source to internal criticism would involve a scientific examination of the relevance of the data. In the process of internal criticism, we usually assess the literal meaning of the text and the real meaning of the statements. Literal meaning are the immediate meanings of the document and often fool the immature reader. Take note, we have to analyze the statement by asking what does the statement say, and then ask what the point of the author is making in the statement. We will soon discover that there's more meaning to the written text. Any source material collected should be subjected to both external and internal criticism. A lack of source criticism can leave readers and viewers misinformed, leading them to draw incorrect conclusions and make faulty decisions based on flawed data.
So, good day everyone. The assigned topic to me is the Philippine historiography. It is have several changes since pre-colonial period until now. When Spanish came, they have many rules about being registered in the government. It is known as the mantra, no document, no history. Many of our ascentors couldn't register to them for its own reason. They prefer stay at their village than engaging with those Spaniards. So the historian find it as a loopholes in our history. So they find a way to make those Asian Filipino to be included in the history. So ito na nga po yung pagpasok ng mga breakthroughs o yung mga victorious events which they are involved. Additionally, kasi na-find out ng mga historian that the Asian people are doing literature like songs, epics, and many more that pass through generation. Ginawa po nila itong isa sa mga proof to be included to the history. So the mantra been changed because of the deception cases in our country. Ayun nga po sa nababasa ko, we are believing in what we see or if it have proofs. We are not history maker because history made us. For the reason, history is history even we didn't exist. Meanwhile, we cannot know or identify without history. That's all. Thank you.
So, ang pinakananguna na pinaniwalaang hoaxes, Code of Kalanchaw. So, Code of Kalanchaw is a mythical legal code in the epic story of Maragtas. Its author was Datu Kalanchaw, chief of the island of Negros, who wrote it in 1433. Natagpuan ang isang kodigo o written script ng batas na nakalagay kung ano ang gagawin kung may nagawang krimen ang isang tao. And naging popular din ito ng panahon ng Hapon kasi nga binubura natin ang impluwensya ng Amerika. And to feel proud na lang sa ating bansa, ang ginawa ng gobyerno noon, prinoprogate nga na meron ngang Code of Kalanchaw. So, Code of Kalanchaw, bahagi ito ng set of documents na binigay ni Jose Marco. And according to Jose Maria Pavon, Kalanchaw name first appeared in print in July 1913 in an article in written Civilización Peja España, published El Remesamiento Philippine. And Code of Kalanchaw has 18 articles that mention and 16 laws. Pero sa dami ng pagsusuri, napatunayan na ang Code of Kalanchaw daw ay hindi totoo sa pamamagitan ng historiographic investigation ni William Henry Scott. So, kulang daw ito, lack of information daw. Kaya sinasabing hindi daw totoo ang Code of Kalanchaw. So, sinasabing dapat daw ang Code of Kalanchaw ay hindi kasali sa history. So, ito nga daw ay napakalaking hoax. Ferdinand Marcos is a World War II soldier. Nang sumiglab ang Second World War II sa Pilipinas, natawag ang ROTC officer na si Ferdinand Marcos bilang isang reservist na magsilbi sa bansa bilang isang sundalo. And Marcos trained in UP. So tinawag siya at kinomisyon siya bilang isang officer sa USAPE, US Army. So, pinasok siya sa tinatawag na 24 Division and siya ay naging intelligence officer dito. So, ang trabaho niya ay tignan ang posisyon ng mga Hapon, kung ano ang ginagawa nito at kung gaano ito kalakas. So, ideally, hindi siya lumalaban. And ayon kay Marcos, sa Death March na buo ang kanyang guerrilla unit na ang mga Maharlika. Nakasad ito sa kanyang salaysay na isinumite sa Amerika para kilalanin ang kanilang kabayanihan. Mabulaklak ang kanyang sinabi, tulad ng sinunog nila ang 3 barko ng Hapon at nagtamo pa siya ng sugat sa hita. Pero hindi ito pinaniwalaan ng US Army. And based of the investigation, fake ang mga Maharlika. December 1944, ikinulong si Marcos ni Captain Ray Hunt dahil illegal umano ang kumolekta para magtayo ng airfield sa Baguio. Si Rojas lang ang umapila na palayain si Marcos. Sa kanyang malanobelang sulat sa US Army, nakalagay ang talumpati sa kanyang kapwa-gerela na serbisyo sa bayan ang kanilang pakay at hindi pagkilala at medalya. Pero kabaliktaran ang nangyari, pagkilala at medalya ang hangad ni Marcos. That's all.
Historical agencies. Historians or researchers of history uses historical resources such as primary, secondary, and tertiary resources to find, discover, and understand historical events and the truth about the past. Now, given this, the question is that where would researchers find a valid and legitimate resources that would help them in interpreting the past? Now, this is where historical agencies enters. Historical agencies are the home to the majority of historical resources. They safeguard it and safekeep it for the purpose of continuously research of history. Now, there are numerous historical agencies in the Philippines. There are National Historical Commission, National Archive, National Library, and National Commission for the Culture and the Arts. Now, historical agencies are the tool that provides connection between the historical agencies' choices and decisions in the past and their relevance to the students'
choices, and decisions in the present. So, this is what historical agency is.